when I was struggling and suffering, after a couple of years, I was like, I need to share my story. I need to share my journey and what happened to just, make sure that, other mothers, don't do the same mistakes and straight away care very well for their children, but for themselves as well.
Hello, I'm John Brink and we are podcasting on the Brink from downtown Prince George, British Columbia, Canada. And for all those people watching us from around the world, they say, okay, we know where Canada is. We know where British Columbia is on the west coast. We know this big city, Vancouver. So where are you, John? Well, we are 500 miles north of Vancouver, or 800 kilometers for our European friends, and it is nature's paradise. There is forest all around us. Within 50 miles, there are 100 lakes. We have black bears, we have grizzlies, we have caribou, we have deer, we have wolves, you name it, we have it. Living in harmony with nature. Today we have a very, very special guest. Her name is Tessia Watson. And Tessia is originally from the Africa and the Caribbean. She is an entrepreneur, an author, and a professional dancer. Wow. She loves being creative and inspired. Tessia, welcome to my show.
Thank you so much, John. Thank you for having me. It's just such an honor and privilege to be with you. Thank you.
And the feelings are mutual. Tessia, tell us about your past. Were you born in Africa, and where in Africa?
So I'm originally from the Caribbean from my dad's side and from Togo from my mom's side.
Okay.
But I'm born in Paris and raised in Paris.
Okay.
So I grew up and I now currently live in London.
Oh my goodness! So you lived in Paris. You were born in Paris, and so I'm not very good at parlez-vous français, just a little bit, but not not overly well. I was born in Holland, and I was born in Holland in 1940, and so that makes me November the 1st, 1940. I'm nearly 84. So and then I came to Canada when I was 23 in 1965. Went to the West Coast and moved to British Columbia to build a lumber company, and then went to Prince George, and that's where I've been for 60 years.
Wow. But you don't look your age at all.
Well, thank you very much. I say 84 young. I wrote a book. I'm also an author. So I'll show you my last book that I wrote. It's this one here. Living Young, Dying Old. That's me. And I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. How about that?
Woo! Impressive. Oh my God. Amazing.
So tell us about you.
So we're having this discussion because it's been now 2 years that it's very, very important to me to spread that message out there about motherhood and how, the narrative has to change. So I wrote a book, and I have it as well.
Yeah.
If you can see it.
Yeah.
So it's called...
Yeah, say what it is called.
It's called Rejuvenated Moms Make Happy Kids.
Right. Now you have 2 children.
Yes, 2 boys.
And what are their names? I always like to know what their names are.
Yes, Maxime. And Alexandre.
And Alexander. Okay. How old are they, Tessia?
Now Maxime is 11 and Alex will be 10 in November. Wow. 10 years old.
Beautiful.
Yes.
Okay, so I interrupted you there. So tell us more.
No problem. So what happened is when I became myself a mother, I took the decision to stay at home because that was, what I wanted to do. Beautiful. I loved it.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, I completely, I lost sight of myself, if I can say it this way. I was caring for them 24/7,
Yeah.
and I was just feeling, not myself anymore because I was not caring for myself. And what happened in our society nowadays, when we give birth to a baby, you have a lot of professionals, coming to you and telling you how to care for the baby, which is great. It's we need to know and we need to have that support, but nobody, comes to you and tell you how to care for yourself, and to be
What
the
does
great.
that mean, Tessia? Not caring for yourself, in which way?
It means that if you're not, yourself anymore, and you are just, doing everything you can for your child, you just can't give anymore because you are like an empty cup, So how can you give when you feel empty within?
You have to try to
And
find the balance, right? Is that the kind of thing?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. When you just, do everything for your child without doing anything for you, you feel that.
Yeah.
You feel that there's something wrong. You're tired, you're exhausted, you're stressed, you're lots of
Mentally,
things.
emotionally, physically, right?
Exactly. And nobody talks about that.
Right.
We don't talk about that.
Right.
We have lots of books about parenting and how to raise, happy and successful children, but we don't have anything about, us. And it's a reality. The children are learning from us. They're
Yeah.
learning through observation. So if they witness, parent caring for themselves, caring for them, loving themselves, it's just, a great example that you can give to your children. And obviously they will do the same once, they're older. So that's why it's really, when I was struggling and suffering, after a couple of years, I was like, I need to share my story. I need to share my journey and what happened, to just, make sure that, other mothers, don't do the same mistakes and straight away care very well for their children, but for themselves as well.
Exactly.
So that's, yes?
Yeah, yeah. So I can see, if I think about you telling the story like that, then I believe a lot of people are in the same position as you are. That they may have been active before birth of children. That ultimately is life. And the best part of life is to having children, but not acquiring, then, especially in the early stages, very demanding. Well, not only in the early stages, but also going up to, into their teens, but always are. But in particular, the first period, and all of a sudden, if you have an active life, and all of a sudden everything changes, and life already is so demanding, regardless of all that. And then the most important part in your life, I can see that becomes very overwhelming to many women in particular around the world. And and I can see where guidance of some sort, or understanding the role, is so critically important. And rejuvenation of moms, very appropriate title, actually, I believe. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. It's true. We don't have the right support to help us with this massive change. So it's just we just go with it. And when you just go with it, you're not equipped, you're not prepared, you don't have the support. And so you just, start to feel isolating. You just don't know. I remember the life, exactly what you said, the life that I had before I was working. But I was, hanging out with friends. I was going out. I was going to the gym. I was doing things that I love to do. And it's not like I didn't love to care for the children, but I
No,
loved
no.
the other things as well.
Yeah,
So, and suddenly they just disappeared, and it's all about them
yeah,
nonstop.
yeah,
And so for me, what happened, the change has been progressive. I started to hear that, inside voice telling me that something went wrong. And I was like, oh, but it's okay. I have to do this. It's only a couple of years, but couple of years, it's your life. Every moment is an important moment.
exactly.
And as mother, we feel that we have to endure what's happening.
Yeah,
And in 10 years, we can go out again and we can do that again. And I just want to say that we can do that straight away.
right,
It's just a matter of knowing what you want, what kind of motherhood journey you want for yourself.
right.
And then you plan what you want. And if you want to go out or whatever you want to do, then you start, making it happen.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, Tessia. What happens to even children will notice that if you are not happy, I'm not saying expressing it in an obvious way, but they can feel what you feel, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
and they will remember that, and that how you feel will stay with them even when they get older. But to develop the relationships, they want to see you happy, contented, is very important for them. And I know that for myself because I was born during the Second World War. Things were very, very difficult in Europe then. And, I grew up in northeastern Holland. My dad was drafted into the Dutch army, and my mom, they fell in love. They got married when they was in 1938, before the war, and they were very, very happy. Very quickly they had one son, the year following a daughter, and then I came a little bit later, another year later, and but they were very, very happy. And then all of a sudden the war happened. My dad was drafted into the Dutch army, and the last they heard of him was in the bombing of Rotterdam. And for 5 years, we would not know if he was dead or alive. And so, and the whole world changed for my mom and her two kids initially, and being pregnant with me until November 1940, when I was born, and then had 3 kids for the next 4 years in the army. And things were very, very difficult. And we saw far too much that we should not have seen. But the interesting part about it, we were liberated by the Canadian Army, April the 12th, 1945. It made such an impression on me that I always knew I would go to the land of my heroes, Canada, that had liberated us. But when I finished the war years as a little 5-year-old with PTSD, which still affects me today, now even nearly 80 years later. And then the other part was that I was affected by, and got counseling for that actually, by the inner child. And that was the fear of losing that mother, because everybody around us had issues, and it was only our mother that we had. And if during the war years something would have happened to her, we would be on our own. So the point that I'm trying to make is that that relationship, children and parents and moms in particular, is a very, very close one that stays with them. And we feel, although they may not express that, what they feel. And so to find that balance, war years are somewhat exceptional and very, very sad. It's happening all over the world right now, which is very, very unfortunate. I'm thinking the Ukraine, the Middle East, and other places. But even in devastating war, but also in relationships that we are fortunate in most of Europe and in North America, where we have relationships, although there is always pressure, maybe economic or emotional, whatever they are, but the relationship between the parent, in particular the mom, and the children will last for always, virtually, and to find the balance is the biggest challenge. And I believe a lot of individuals, in particular women, are dealing with that even now in some form or fashion. And to find that balance is so important. And as you indicated, that I've seen, not many books are being written about it, not much guidance is there. So it is, but very much so today.
Yes, definitely. And I definitely can relate with what you said in terms of, what we feel. I was not born during the war, but my mom was born with sickle cell. So I grew up with a mom always sick.
Yeah.
And so I can relate in a sense because she was always going to the hospital.
Yeah.
And you were not seeing her for at least 3 weeks, a month, or even more. And I always had this fear growing up that she won't come back.
Sure.
And then what does it mean? What's going to happen to us? Because I was from a broken family, so no dad around.
Exactly.
So it was difficult, but you sense everything. You feel everything.
I know.
So even as human being, even us, we know that when we are exhausted, very tired, or frustrated, whatever, we are not the same person when we are so happy, energized, in peace and everything. We are two different persons, and we show up differently. So children at home, they see that. They see when mommy is coming home, happy, relaxed, recharged, or where she is just,
stressed,
stressed, anxious, exhausted. It's not going to, the experience will be different. You're not going to have the same, dynamic in the house.
And they feel that, emotionally. They feel that, They may not express it, but they do.
No, because they can't put words on this. They just, feel there's something going on,
right,
but they don't know, exactly. So the idea, if when you care for yourself and do whatever it's, require for you to feel good, then you will show up as, this, attentive mother, happy mother, and the whole, raising experience and, being with your children will be different.
Exactly.
It's true. So it's really important.
So take me a bit further then, that when they grew up, you were still in France. Were you still in Paris then when your children were born? And then you stayed there for a period of time. And, so tell us a little bit more about your personal history.
No, so what happened is that I came here in London for study. So
Okay.
the boys were born here in London.
Okay.
And in France, we have what we call creches. So it's childcare, where you can drop your children around 6 months old for a couple of hours. So you just book maybe 2 afternoons or 2 mornings. And it's mainly for staying at home parents. So when I arrived here, I had the first one, and I started to look for this type of childcare.
Right, in London.
Find it. Yes, and
They
I
didn't
couldn't
have
find any.
They didn't have
I
it.
was like, I called my mom. Mom, I can't find anything. What I'm gonna do with the, with Maxime? And she said, don't worry, Tess. Just create one. Thank you, mom. That's the right. So I followed. I just created my little nursery, and I ran it for 7 years. So it was a bilingual program, French and English, and we were welcoming babies up to 3 years old to allow stay-at-home mom to have some time for themselves,
Exactly.
to have a break. So they were able to drop the baby or the toddler for 2 hours. And when you have the feedback, it was huge, because they were just so grateful to have this type of service, where they can, connect to their core self again and do whatever they want to do during that precious time
And have
without the baby.
and have peace of mind that the
Yes,
child would be okay, or the young person.
exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because when mothers they come in, they just see other children happy. So the
Yeah.
guilt is not necessary here, because
No.
children can be happy without you. It's a fact.
Yeah.
Like, as soon as they feel secure, well cared, they are happy. It's
Yeah.
just a matter of settling in. And it's just, a process, obviously, for it depends, around 2 or 3 weeks. And then
Exactly.
they're happy. They are with their peers,
Yeah.
learning, with them, growing with them. So the guilt disappear when mothers can see that with their own eyes. They believe that, okay, my
Yeah.
child can be happy without me. It's
Yeah.
okay. I can let it. And so I've done this, because I wanted to have that for me. So
Exactly.
once, it was not there, I just created it as my mom suggested it. So that's what I did for 7 years. And during those 7 years, that's when I decided to take the time and write the book.
Now, writing books is not easy, and I have done 4 of them, and I'm working on 2 other ones. The first one that I did is, it took me 80 years to live it, 20 years to think about writing it. Stop, start, stop, start, stop, start, and 2 years to write it. Is this one here, Against All Odds, and
Oh, I love
that was about my past. It's not about hurrah, hurrah, how successful John is. It's not about that. It's about all the ups and downs and the challenges along the way, all the time from the war years, what I remember of it, and then being in Holland, and then making the decision to come to Canada, start with nothing, and then build companies, and stabilizing myself in a new country. Couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, didn't have a job. But it was very, very good experience. And now, 60 years later, I left Canada, and it was good to do that. But then I felt I had to write about it. So because so many people, have challenges or feel that there is no chance for opportunity, whatever that may be, or whatever can make you happy. And I say, not so, at least not in my opinion. And then sharing with them my experience was important.
it. It's
Probably
amazing.
the same for you, right?
Yes, because what happened is, I decided to, when I was a little girl, I wanted to become a lawyer. And so I've decided to study law at university. And that's what I did. And when things didn't work the way I wanted to, I suddenly decided to go to the States. So I lived for a year in San Francisco, in California,
Oh my goodness.
based on an intuition, a strong intuition. And I was struggling when I arrived. Obviously, I didn't know. I learned the language at school, but when I was there, it was like I don't know anything. I couldn't understand what Americans were saying, the accent, they were talking fast. So, as you, it was a challenge, but at the end, it was wonderful, because I had this great experience, and then I was able to enroll in a school where it was international, and I had the opportunity to come in London and study there, because I was able to speak fluently English. So the what comes to my mind is that when you decide to go for it, it will always lead, to new doors, to new opportunities. It
No
works
question.
this way. And you have to take that leap of faith, and just go. It was an intuition. I was feeling that there was something wrong because I didn't pass the exam. But the thing is, when I took this exam, the law exam to become a notary in Paris, I gave everything. I gave it all. So I
Yeah.
knew that when I didn't get in, something was weird. Like I had to do something. And then this idea, just go, abroad, was like an appealing one.
Yeah.
And I just went. So I was there for a year. I was an au pair there. I was caring for kids in a family,
Right.
and I was learning English. So I definitely relate with you when you take that decision to go. And I think it's really helpful for people that sometimes can't take this kind of decision. My friend told me, "Oh, Tess, you're so lucky," and I'm like, "It's not luck there, because you can do it as well.
Exactly.
Just do it." No, I can't do it. Why? I don't know.
If you decide mentally you can, you will.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's all about, the belief
Exactly.
that you can, or
Yeah.
the belief that you can't. And then obviously, if you believe that,
That's what
indeed,
it
you're
will
right.
be. That's what it will be, right?
Exactly. So I think your book is so helpful. It's so, important to people, because so many, you're right, just doesn't have that belief. And by, reading your book or similar books, they can, change their mind and start, doing the things that they always wanted to do.
Yeah, and too often people think, well, this is the reason that I can't. And that's the wrong approach, because as you already said, that it will be what you want it to be mentally, and that there is lots of opportunity, whatever that may be. Being successful and enjoying. To me, what is important is, I'm going to show you a plaque here, that when I came to Canada in 1965, I wanted to start with nothing. So I didn't speak the language, I didn't have a job, and I didn't know anybody, but I knew I wanted to go to British Columbia and to build my own lumber mill, because my grandfather was a master carpenter. My dad worked in lumber, and so I was going to be a carpenter or build my own sawmill. And so when I went to Vancouver, I went to the immigration office, and fortunately there was a German fella there, and I could speak some German. So I told him what I wanted to do. He said, "Go to Prince George, 500 miles north, or 800 kilometers north." British Columbia is a big province. Prince George is in the center of British Columbia, north, south, east, west. So when I arrived here at the Greyhound station with my suitcase, 3 books, 2 sets of clothes, I counted my money. I had $25.47.
My God.
Couldn't speak the language, didn't know a soul, and didn't know anybody. But what I did have is attitude. I always, even when challenges occurred in my earlier years, I always believed that if today is a difficult day, I know tomorrow is going to be a better day. I always believe that. I avoid negative. The other one that I have is passion. Whatever I do, I give it 125%. And then the other one is work ethic. I work harder than anybody. Even now, at nearly 84, I get up at 5:30 in the morning. I always make my bed, and I always think I'm late. And then I have a number of different companies, including a couple of lumber companies. And so Canada is the land of opportunity, and I always believe that. And even if you start with nothing, from the ground up, as a cleanup man, then a lumber pilot, and then within 10 years had a company. And now it's not about hoorah, hurrah, how successful John is. That's not what I'm talking about. But then, now 50 years, 60 years later, I have a number of companies and doing quite successful. Obviously, I can speak the language now. I'm podcasting. I've written 5 books. working on the sixth one, and and doing a lot like you do, speaking, being an in-demand keynote speaker, and I love to do that and share with others. But I believe our challenges, as you do, and all the things that you believe are important, and I really, really enjoy that.
It's so impressive. And what it's really important for people to understand is that you decided to create, this higher concept of yourself. You were talking about the fact that you decided that to put aside negativity. This is a decision, it's a decision to make every single day that you are going to be positive, optimistic, and that in your mind, only positive thoughts will be running. But this
Exactly.
is a decision. Happiness
Exactly.
is a decision.
Yeah.
And so many people think it's just happiness is linked or connected to what you have, like as, if it's a house, it's a car. No. Happiness is, an inner decision to be happy.
Correct. It's a state of mind,
In a state of mind. And it's so important to say it and remind people about it, because otherwise they just don't understand how you can achieve this and they can't, or how I can achieve what I did and they can't. It's really
the,
important.
the amazing thing about it, Tessia, is that I'm nearly 84, and I've done a lot of things, a lot of ups and downs, but I don't think that you would meet anybody here, and I'm around a lot of people, is that they would say, John is negative. No, I'm not. I'm always positive. No matter how challenging things are, it becomes a way of life, and I like it, but so does negative as well. It can become a way of life, so that can't becomes the operative, and my operative is can do, so, and or why not, and so it becomes a state of mind, and then a lot of people say, well, then to them you have done well, then they say you're so lucky, and I said, no, the harder you work, the luckier you get. That's how it works. So you stay the course, you never give up, and it's a way of life, and it makes life so much more pleasurable. Like,
Yeah.
when I get up in the morning, rain, shine, or whatever it is, that it's going to be a good day.
Yes, and I do the same. I claim it as a good day, a very good day. And that's why it happens for me, because it's like your mind is kind of connected to everything, joyful that will happen that day. And so you are more focused on those things, because even during the day, we have challenges or unpleasant or unwelcoming, events happening.
Yeah.
But for a reason, you just don't focus on them. You're not
Exactly.
concentrating on them.
No.
And so you have an overall, thinking that your day was absolutely extraordinary,
Exactly.
just because you decided to focus on only, whatever happened in the day. Like just, the fact that you were healthy all through the day, it's a massive gift. And I
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about, because I told you about the story of my mom. So it's very sad to just notice how many people become, unhealthy, and they were born healthy,
Yeah. Yeah.
It's
Exactly.
very unfortunate. Yeah, because my mom was not born healthy.
No.
So it's really important to make sure that you take care of your, mind, your body, and your spirit. It's really important, because otherwise you just, ending living a miserable life while you were, giving so many gifts at birth. Your health, we breathe, everything is happening without us even, interfering or, your heartbeat is beating, your heart is beating with you not doing anything.
Exactly. Yeah.
And those things, we don't think about them during the day
Yeah.
at all.
That's one of the reasons I wrote this book, is that it's not because I want to be a bodybuilder, but simply that we all get a time in life that all of a sudden something happens that kind of pushes the alarm bell. And so with me, I think it was in 2008, I was 68 years old, and I had a case of diverticulitis. And, that
I don't know what it, no. I don't know what is it.
diverticulitis is a rupture or is an aggravation of your colon. And it's very common. If you say, I have pain on my right side, it's usually appendix, potentially. Left side
Yes.
is the colon and possibly diverticulitis. And so what the doc would suggest, I'm not a doc, but I'm just saying what I believe, it would suggest to change your diet, do more plant-based, avoid small corn and those kind of things, and then it will clear up. In my case, it ruptured. So all the toxins came into my, put in danger all your organs. So you have about 48 hours in which you have to do something about it. And I came very close to it. I went to the hospital, they operated and took 20 centimeters out of my colon. That's fine. Well, I wasn't at the time. I came that close, so the doc said, you came this close to not making it because of the toxins. Since the time, I've had no issue, but what I did, pushed the button for me and saying, my wife is a vegetarian. I was fairly taking care of myself, but not as well as I could be. So I changed my diet, became a vegan, where I eat mainly plant-based food. I'm more conscientious. It took a while I didn't listen to my wife as well as it should. I do now, And then the other part that I did is, I was one of those persons that every end of the year we all make commitments. I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, and I'm going to buy a membership to the gym. And we do that, and then 2 weeks later we say, we can find 100 reasons as to why we are too busy to go to the gym. So I didn't do that. So I said, okay, what I need to do is I have to hire a trainer. So I did that because then to me it's a commitment, and I do that in my business. I go work on meetings. And so I started to work out in the gym with a trainer. And after doing that for about 6 years and working hard, somebody one day came up to us and say, hey, John, have you ever thought about competing? I said, me? Really? And I said, why not? That's a challenge, So I started then working even harder, and then I started competing. Northern British Columbia, came in second physique, third in bodybuilding, qualified me for the provincials. Then I came in the provincials that qualified me for the nationals and the Arnolds. And so then what happened? COVID came. And so, and now I'm back again training going to the gym, training for the Arnolds in 2025, and I'm 85. And so that's what I look like. And I'm the oldest competitive bodybuilder in North America. And it's not, that was my goal, but I like a challenge, and I like going to the gym, and it, motivates me to go to the gym, and because I now appreciate the importance of your body, extremely forgiving, but you have to take care of it, especially in a lot of cases, the last decade of life, people have all kinds of health issues and probably get a handful of pills. And I don't want to do that. I want to be, and that's why I wrote the book, Living Young, Dying Old. Age is just a number, but there is no reason that you cannot go. I'm an example of that. Go to the gym. I don't use chemicals, and I take care of my diet. I go to the gym regularly, and I still being competitive. I'm very active in my businesses. I'm a speaker. I write books. I'm a podcaster. A lot of people say to me, "How do you do all of this?" Now, there's another thing that I haven't mentioned to you, but I should just mention. I'm also ADHD. I wrote a book about that.
Yes.
And
Wow.
I say the reason that I do all of this because I'm ADHD, but I call it a superpower. But I want to come back to you now and saying, okay, so you wrote the book, and that wasn't
Yeah.
easy.
But I just want to say, based on what you just shared, that you are such an inspiration, really, John. I love your story, and thank you so much for sharing it with us, with me. It's of of great value. So thank you for that. And it reminds me of the discipline, because you were talking about this, and we don't have to do as always the others are doing. You said, for instance, it doesn't really work for you to go to the gym by yourself, so you decided to find another way, and you hired a personal trainer. The same that I've done as well. I went to classes when I wanted to to get back in shape, and it didn't really work that much because I had some issues with my lower back, and I think it's due to the pregnancies and the birth.
Right.
But I did the same as you. I hired a personal trainer to help me because I wanted someone really close to me to just make sure that I do the right, postures and positions
Exactly.
to not hold my back. So you always find, solutions. Whatever you want, you can just, achieve it. You can just have it. And one of the greatest lesson, and it's one in my book that I share. It's when I had my first baby. This one, for whatever reason, John was not sleeping through the night. But when I say not sleeping, not as we know about newborns, where they sleep 2 hours and just wake up. No, no, no. This one was not sleeping. So it means that as I was breastfeeding at the time, so as soon as I was, he was sleeping on the breast and I was ready to, just put him down on his cot, he was waking up straight away. So no deep sleep. He can't stay for 2 hours without you. It didn't happen.
Yeah.
So I was completely desperate. I was
Yeah.
really exhausted. The lack of sleep is like torture, really. If you do that for weeks,
Very,
months,
very important, right?
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And so I was really desperate, and I was crying every night, talking to the baby, what's wrong with you? What's wrong with you? Just sleep. And then a couple of years later, I meet now a very good friend, and that was the first time that I was meeting her. And I ask her, what do you do? And she says, I'm a maternity nurse. And I was like, okay, what is that? And
Yeah.
she says, we go to the house and we just stay overnight. So then the parents can have, a good night of sleep. I was like, what?
Yeah.
That exists?
Yeah.
Like,
Never
was
knew
in
of it. Yeah.
That's what I'm telling you.
Wow.
Because the lack of awareness, the ignorance that I was part of me, I thought there was no solution of what I was, what was occurring in my life. No solution. That was my belief at the time.
Yeah.
So if I knew that, I mean, or even if I believed or I had hope that a solution existed, I would have just go, on Google and
Sure.
make a search.
Sure.
Like, what do you do with newborn, not sleeping, whatever.
It would have
And
told you.
something will have come up.
Yeah. No
But
doubt.
because of the ignorance and the lack of awareness that
Yeah.
for each problem a solution exists.
Yeah.
This law of polarity, I was not aware of this, that you can't have a back without a front, you can't have hot without cold. I was not aware of the laws of the universe, so I didn't know this.
No.
But this was the greatest lesson ever, because now I know
It changed
that
your life.
Completely, because you know the solution exists. Maybe you don't know yet what it is, but you know it's there somewhere. And if you keep on, looking for, searching for whatever, you will find it.
The other thing, Tessia, is that you know now that others have the same issue as you have, so there must be some way that by then they have established how can we deal with that.
Yes, because it's just such a difficult time, very challenging time, that they created this type of services to support parents, because it's just unbelievable how you can suffer when you're not sleeping each night like this for weeks or months. It's
hard to imagine, right, really, but it's devastating really, to your own health.
Exactly. And I would have done anything, just anything, John, for one night.
Yeah.
Just one night of proper sleep.
Yeah.
Everything you ask me, it's not about money. I will have find the money. I will have find everything.
Just give me sleep.
Done anything. To just have one, one night, of proper sleep each week, or even just one.
Yeah.
So it's good now, because obviously I'm aware that I just I need to seek for answers, or look for answers, but I know for certain that
that's also part of your book, right? Those issues.
Yes, I mentioned that. I mentioned all of this in the book, because I want the mothers to know. I don't want them to go through that. If if it happens for them as well, then they know.
Show us the book once more, Tessia. Is it available by all the major book sellers that we know?
So you can find it on Amazon. So that's Amazon everywhere, in Canada, in the States, everywhere. It's there. It's called Rejuvenated Moms Make Happy Kids.
Right. Now, the other thing that you had is that you were also, you say, a professional dancer. At what period in your life were you doing that?
So I was a dancer since I was 6 years old, for up to now. I've always, always loved to dance. I've never done it professionally before. And when my children were at school, I saw that they didn't have any dancing club. So I just, went to the head teacher and said, I've been dancing for years. Do you want me to create a dancing club? I will be happy to do that. And he said to me, we need a qualified dance teacher. And I was already in that mindset, like I can be anything I want. So there's no problem. So I went.
You are it.
And I came back 6 months later, and I said, okay, so by the way, about this, dancing club. And he said, I told you, we need you to be qualified. But I am qualified now. Yeah. So I showed up, the qualification. And so I did this for a couple of years as well at the school. It was really lovely. And I had the opportunity as well to do some work with mothers as well. So I was teaching new moms, with the baby in the sling. So that was beautiful. So I've done that as well. I'm not currently doing it, but I'm so open to anything, that comes my way. So it's something that I'm still, hoping to do. But that's the part of the dancing, qualification and, teaching children and sharing my passion.
So you're now in the UK and London, and Alexander and his brother, I forgot are now
Maxime.
Maxim, are 10 and 11. So they are doing good and great. They love their mommy, and you seem to be contented in the things that you are doing. So what you're going to do as you go forward, because you are bilingual big time, you're fluent French, you're fluent English, obviously, you're a good speaker, you're very, very good in podcasting, and obviously an author, dancer. You have self-confidence. That's already obvious, because that's another part that I say a lot of times when I present to young people in particular. Understand who you are and be at peace with who you are, because there is only one of you. There is no other one like you anywhere in the world. So accept who you are. Not better than, but accept who you are. You're unique. And people are too preoccupied. Oh, that doesn't look good, and this doesn't look right, and blah, blah, blah. I said, you're special, And so that then being said, what you're going to do as you go forward?
So what happened is, so I've done, I told you that I was running the nursery for a couple of years,
Right.
and it was up to this 2024. And again, massive change in my life. And it's been just a couple of months now that I'm exploring modeling and acting, which I absolutely love. So
Wow.
it's something that it's new in my life. It's been only a couple of months. I still work, obviously. I still definitely want to share, my story. So I make sure that, the message is really out there. And as long as I don't feel within that my job is done there, I will continue. And
Right.
for now, it's not done. So I just, obviously make sure that I, talk to people like wonderful people like you on podcasts, or, if I can, promote the book. So I still do that. I work a lot as a model now, an actress as well. And I've been studying with spiritual masters the laws of the universe for a couple of years now. So I'm still doing this up until the time I'm ready to teach everything that I've learned for years now. It's been at least 3 or 4 years.
Now, do you have a website, or you're podcasting with me on the Brink, with John A.
Yes.
Brink? What is your podcast?
So I have a website, and my website is tessiawatson.com. So anyone who wants, to connect or to have, or you have questions, anything, they can, reach me on my website. So tessiawatson.com.
Excellent. And so, Tessia, this has been an amazing story, a privilege to have you on my show, and to all the people watching us. And I say that the interesting part, even for a guy 84 years old, he is sitting here, 84 years young, living young, dying old. You and me are sitting here from the other side of the world to London, to Prince George. The podcasting is amazing media. It's still in its infancy, and we already know that our discussion today that covered a lot of ground, in particular with the challenges of young mothers, and in other issues of everything you want to be, you can, is a message that is so important for the rest of the world. The other interesting part about podcasting is we already know that at least 10,000 people or more are watching us in this podcast. This podcast will be released tomorrow. We release our podcast very, very quickly, either same day or the following morning. And we don't do very much editing. For all those people watching us to want to hear more of these podcasts, either by Tessia or myself, johnabrink.com, about different issues, different projects, or whatever we do, entrepreneurship, whatever it is, then subscribe to us on our podcast, share it, like it, comment on it, because it's the media of the future. Tessia,
Beautiful.
it was a privilege and a pleasure. Let's make sure we stay in touch. And I loved your podcast with you, and you're an amazing individual. It was a pleasure to have you on my podcast. Take care.
Oh my God. Thank you so much, John. Really appreciate it. And I appreciate the space as well for me to share my story. So thank you so much.
Take care, Tessia. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.